Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the full council meeting of Tuesday the 17th of April. And first item on the agenda, item 17.245, is apologies for absence. 17.24501, to receive apologies for absence.
I have received apologies from Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark, okay, thank you. 24502, to accept apologies. To accept apologies for absence.
Yes.
Do we accept the apology? Thank you. Item 246, declarations of interest. To receive and consider any declarations of interest from members and officers under Section 50 of the Local Government Act 2000. That's our Standing Order 35. This requirement applies only in respect of matters which are to be considered by the Council at this meeting. 24601, to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests. No. 24602, to declare any other interests. No. 24603, to consider any requests for dispensation. No. 24604, to report any gifts or hospitality accepted over the value of £50. No. 24605, to report any inappropriate gifts or hospitality offered. None. Okay. Item 247, minutes of the previous meetings. 24701, proposition to approve and sign the minutes of the full council meeting held on the 20th of March 2018 as an accurate record. And that's our Standing Order 10C. Everybody's happy with those minutes that you've got in your pack. Is anybody who was present prepared to propose? Councillor Chesser. Do I have a seconder for the minutes? Councillor Hutton. And all those in favour, please. Any against? Any abstentions? The rest weren't at the meeting. Okay. And we move on to 24702, proposition to approve and sign the minutes of the Neighbourhood Plan Full Council meeting held on the 3rd of April as an accurate record. Again, our Standing Order 10C. You've got them in your pack. You're all happy with them. Is anybody prepared to propose them, please? Councillor Chappell. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Oakes S. And all those in favour, please. Any against? Any abstentions? Smashing. Right. Item 248, to consider and approve co-option of councillor to Oundle Town Council. We have in the room tonight Mr. Tony Robinson. You've got before you a little bit of a write-up, a few words about me. So I'll hand over to Mr. Robinson to introduce himself.
So I've been in Oundle for over 20 years now. Robert, I've got 3 children here. Now retired. Got particularly interested when I heard about the neighbourhood plan. Just wanted to be a part
Smashing. Right, do we have any questions from councillors? Nobody's got any questions? Everybody happy?
Welcome.
That's markedly premature.
You might regret this.
Okay, I'm going to ask then for a show of hands. Those in favour of co-opting Mr. Robinson? Anybody against? No. And any abstentions? No. You are unanimously elected, sir. Welcome to the Town Council. Yes. While he's signing his life away there, we'll move on to item 249. Public participation from interested parties or members of the public. I don't know whether the clerk's received any notification. I know we've got two groups here tonight who want to speak.
To present, yes.
Yeah, but we haven't had anything from anybody else, nothing else. Okay, I will ask first of all an introduction to the NatWest Community Banker, please.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, so I just want to a quick introduction. So my name is Mohammed Chauhan. I'm the newly appointed community banker for NatWest, covering Peterborough, Arundel and Stamford. So first and foremost, thank you, Councillor Sparks, for the opportunity to introduce myself and for the opportunity to introduce my role. And I do want to very quickly just highlight on the outset that I'm not here to discuss the closure of NatWest Arundel. I am here to promote my services as a community banker. So just a quick insight on what a community banker does and what I will be doing. So NatWest have launched the Community Banker Initiative to help support local communities with their banking and financial needs. So although the branch will be closing in Arundel, NatWest will still have a presence via or through myself as a community banker. And as a community banker, I want to ensure that I am able to support the community as and where I can, where possible. One way I will be looking to do this is by educating the local community around fraud and scam awareness. So NatWest are affiliated with Friends Against Scams, so we're quite determined to combat fraud and scams. And a way I will be looking to do this is by holding presentations on fraud and scam awareness and educating people in the community on what to look out for, how to protect themselves, and how to prevent it from happening to them. I will also be running presentations on digital safety awareness, as well as alternative ways of banking. I will be working with the local police, trading standards, by using their services and their support to host and assist in local events in the community. I'll also be working with the local post office in my areas to again support customers with their banking needs. Also to continue to support customers, I will also be holding drop-in clinics at each of my locations where customers and non-customers alike will be able to come in for me to support them again with their banking and financial needs. NatWest are also, we work really closely with schools, across the country to help educate students through money sense programs. So again, I will be introducing this in local schools in the community that I'll be working in, where I can support various different age groups, helping them again to prepare financially for their future really. As a community banker, I'm not just here for NatWest customers, I am here for the community as a whole. So to ensure that I continue to do that, I will be working alongside you know, the likes of yourselves, as well as other areas of the community. I will be, I have left my business cards out, so please feel free to contact me if you require any support, any further information. But also, if you have any events or any community or social events that you are involved in, or if you've got anything up and coming, again, I'd love to get involved and be able to share and educate my experiences and my presentations along with the community. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Chesser.
I'm a trustee of a number of charities in the town, and also obviously a councillor. And one of the things that we have to provide quite often, because the personnel of charity boards changes, is things like being signatory. Do we have to go into Corby en masse
No.
to become signatories?
When you come in to see me, it's as if you come into the range.
So you could do that?
Absolutely. I will be here to support the community as if you have gone to the branch. If I'm not able to support you, I will point you in the direction as to where that support can be found. But if you had a mandate and you required changing, I'd be more than happy to help you. So I've got no issues in doing that.
That's probably about the best thing that we're hearing.
Just
Councillor.
one point. You mentioned advertising to the local population. Advertising to this population or getting them involved or knowing where to go is quite complicated and fairly inefficient. How do you propose to let everyone in this community that banks in that
So
place?
I have held various discussions so far. So local newspapers to promote my services. So the branch in Alnwick will be closing in June. So before that, I will have leaflets, have communication sent out, social media, also the likes of the newspapers. I think we have the Oracle, something that I could also promote myself within. So, and also it's going to be word of mouth. So being out in the community, being part of these social events. I know there are some, there are quite a few social events that happen, but being there, being part of that, and again just promoting my services in that way for people to know that actually I'm not just here for NatWest customers, I'm here for the community. So if you require support, come to my drop-in clinics. You know, if it gets busier, I might increase my drop-in clinics. So it all depends on how it works.
So do you anticipate where would you base yourself here in this building?
Yeah, so I am. I've had a few discussions, and one of those drop-in clinics will be at the library just outside here, where I will have a private room, so customers can come in and have that one-to-one with myself. But I'll also, I'll have one at Stamford as well, so Stamford customers can also, I can also support them. And again, just being part of the community, just running events around the community for people to know who I am. I mean, you have those electric boards, which again I hope I'll be able to promote, a presentation on there where, by all means, as many people of the community would like to join, I'll be more than happy to accommodate.
Any more questions?
Just a quick one. What are you doing with the post office? You mentioned the post office.
So there's a number of ways that you can utilise the post office. So you can campaign at the post office, you can withdraw at the post office.
And that'll be run by NatWest at the post office.
The post office is run by the post office. However, we have provided our services at the post office, so you'll still be able to do your banking as if you were going into a branch. Albeit there are some areas where you might not be able to do everything, but those services are being worked on to support the post office. But it does mean that if you have any queries or questions, you think actually I can't do that at the post office, that's something that you can contact me about.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next interested parties presentation is to consider a proposal for more cycle racks in Oundle from the Trade Association representatives. I'll hand over to you.
My name is Paul Evelyn.
I'm Alison. I'm Ellie Wimbold from, I work for the Arga shop at Arga Oundle.
I have two businesses, both cycling related, which is my interest. We're representing Amber District Trading Association, and what we've done as part of that is actually got some ideas around how we think we might be able to improve aspects of the town, and this is one of our proposals. So we've taken this to our group to have a look. Now, the proposal itself, as we well know, cycling has grown in recent years, and if you watch out on a Sunday, you'll see lots of different groups going in various different directions. Quite a few of them stopping off in various different places along the way and actually spending money. There's also got a lot of people who actually commute, and I know from the town plan, actually you're looking to promote cycling around Oundle as well. So actually families and things can go into Oundle Centre, cycling on a cycleway, and be able to park up and utilise facilities in town. Bike parking in Oundle at the moment is a bit to be desired in terms of, especially for perhaps the sort of cyclists I more often see where they actually have quite an expensive bike and actually they're not happy with just sort of leaning up against something or dropping the front wheel into a stand as their bikes cost more money. So what we're trying to do is to make the town more attractive for those sort of cyclists, and the benefit for us for that would actually be more people visiting and actually spending money time in the town. Today what we're after from yourselves is really just an agreement in principle that it sounds like a good idea. We know that quite a few things need to happen to actually make this come into reality, but without your backing that won't happen. So we're hoping for your backing today.
This is just a little bit of research we've done really together. We've just been to the High Street and just had a good look at what goes on. And actually we have got provision for bicycles at the moment, but it is limited. So we've currently counted up, there's about 10 bike positions across the High Street currently, and that can be in the form of these simple C-shaped bent bars, where you can probably get about 4 bikes strapped to those. Alternatively, there are these racks where you can just slide a wheel in and lock your bike to that particular bike rack. So we're looking to perhaps improve on the quantity of bicycles that we can perhaps get in the school.
I cycled in events quite a lot. When I go to an event, the type of storage that we have actually enables quite a bit better storage. A, from a perspective of not actually necessarily damaging the bike, but also in terms of the amount of bikes you can get on a specific rack, and you hang the bike by the sand. So as you can see here, actually mounting bikes in that way is actually a better way of storing and enabling you to get more in the given distance.
So we've had a look at some possible sites. Now bear in mind this is a feasibility study. It's all it's initial ideas of where we could possibly site these racks. And we found that with the growing increase in the price of these bicycles, it's a very nice idea to be able to get people to be able to perhaps visit a cafe, but be able to be in view of their bicycles locked opposite or very nearby. So site 1 is indicated there, would possibly be opposite, where there's a little bit of redundant space there. Site 1 is opposite number 4, which was Smith's at number 4 originally, but number 4, cafe at number 4. Site 2, hopefully towards the end of the marketplace, possibly removable, so that we didn't obstruct the market or the food festival, but opposite the coffee tavern. Site 3, perhaps to use that space outside Tesco's a little bit better. We've got a little patch there where we tend to get little smart cars and shorter cars parking there and leaving the car parked half inside the triangle and half out. We could perhaps use that site just outside Tesco's a little bit better. Site 4 would be outside Beans. Now I've actually passed Beans on Saturday and there must have been about 15 bicycles leaning up against the glass window. So that's site 4. Site 5, we've been talking to the Talbot, and they're very keen on getting involved, and they're quite happy to possibly have a small bike rack in there for their customers. And site 6, yeah, optional extra, possibly opposite Salerno's, the pizza restaurant, the Italian restaurant. So those are some ideas for the time being.
So we sort of draw out some illustrations of what they might look like. Once again, those positions that we just talked about, obviously opposite Smith's at the moment, or unfortunately I say, there is a bike rack.
Site 2, yes, just a little bit. I mean, we've come up with some sketches with perhaps some floral planters. Obviously, they're up to for discussion, but something to soften it. We want to do it so that it's attractive. And the idea that perhaps opposite the coffee tavern, the actual bar could be removed. We've tried to site it so that it would be just to the side of where the antique lady has her antiques on a Thursday market. But obviously it could be removable, much like the bollards. There is an existing signpost there that does direct to the old recycling centre. It directs to the Office of Tourism and various things that we don't actually have in this town anymore. We wondered whether it might be nice to try and incorporate one of the poles, keep that, and have just an additional pole, and then maybe create a town plan, which is something that we've been talking about within the trade association. So a chance for people to come to the town, park their bike and see where to go. All right.
So obviously illustrated that outside Tesco's.
Outside Beans.
Outside Beans. Now, clearly we see that you can't do this without actually involving planning and involving highways and involving your good selves, because at the end of the day it involves a change to the town and the town centre. And there are clearly a number of considerations that would need to come into that. We have had a kind offer from a gentleman who works for a local architectural street furniture supplier. So it's a bona fide company who actually makes this type of furniture and sells it across the UK. There's also, we've also engaged people like Phil, who represents Beans, to say, well, actually, if we did this, clearly there was some benefit in doing this for some of the town's tradespeople. Would you be willing to contribute? So at the end of the day, what we'll be looking to do is to actually come up with a cost-neutral proposal. We understand that you're quite strapped in terms of money, and therefore we would not be asking you for money, but we'd be looking to self-fund it. But what we need is your support and your consideration to say take it to the next stage. And hopefully, what we quite like is somebody who might be willing, from a council perspective, assuming that you agree with looking into this further, to actually act as our sponsor for the council.
Okay, any questions from councillors? Councillor Peel, first of all.
Yeah, I can
Councillor,
see your point, and I understand the reasoning behind the bike parking areas. I can't see the point of number 2, because that would cause more problems, I think, than it will solve. A little bit worried about the one near Tesco's. I can see where if you can go just in that area where the smart cars park, which they shouldn't, and bigger cars, that should be fenced off and used just at 4 bikes, and I would see 3 or 4 bike type parking areas there. That would be great. I'm not sure about putting it in front of the Beans, only because Beans already have tables out at the front, and if you then restrict the walking past of more bike stands, or even put them on the road, that might cause problems coming round the corner for cars. But the rest of it I agree with. I think that's a very good idea. One of the other points I would like to make, and I think this is really, really important for the people around us, is 2 things. Firstly, I think bike riders have to be aware of other road users, because at the moment they tend to be very ignorant in their approach to either cars or pedestrians. And I think if we're going to do this, we have to make sure that bike riders do understand that there are other users on the road, not just themselves. And at the moment, we get areas in Oundle where, especially on the main roads, the through roads, where they get 4 or 5 4 or 5 bikes across the road, and there's nowhere for cars to go past them. And that is a bit of an annoying situation. I'm quite happy with bikes, but I think, you know, they've got to understand that it is also pedestrians and cars and motorbikes that have to use this town, and the streets are narrow. So I would applaud the idea of putting more bike stands in. I think 1 or 2 of the areas you've got, I'm not sure of, but apart from that, I think it's a brilliant plan.
Councillor Humphreys.
I reiterate that. I think it's a brilliant idea, and I think we should do it. But I actually think you should be braver. I think you should be braver than just poles, saddle poles. I think I've just come back from a great tour of New Zealand and Australia, where there's massive bike interest in both countries, and they've actually turned bike racks into street art.
Yeah.
And there are every town, village, everywhere has bike racks that is street art.
Yeah.
And I think that would enhance the culture, and I think it does enhance the culture. It not only brings strength to the look of the town by saying we are bike friendly in a big way,
Yes.
but also it just makes it a nicer place to be, to look around and see this stuff. So I think, absolutely, I'm 100%, personally, 100% behind cycling, and I think everyone should ride a bike. And I think the whole proposition, I think the town's trade group, you should be brave with it. You know, put it out for a competition. Let's have the school kids turn bent metal into art objects and still be able to hang on to a chain bikes there.
That's a great response. I think our reasoning for sketching it up in such a sort of simplistic way was just we didn't want to offend the audience.
Not too wide.
But we'll come back and offend you big time.
That's interesting. I mean, we can get some pictures maybe of what they've done.
There's so much.
Councillor Oakes.
We have looked at this.
Yes.
The big issue is always about line of sight.
Okay.
Because these people have got very expensive bikes that can go up to about 15,000 quid.
Yeah.
And they want to be able to see that nobody's nicking them. And that's been the big problem. Plus the fact is, we do have narrow streets and we don't have pavements that are possibly large enough, for us to put bike racks on them. So, but can I just say, that was fantastic for me. It's just lovely to have fresh ideas. That was great. I'm not trying to be a dampener here, but we have looked at this, and indeed, but the point is, we think, well, if we put a bike rack there, they can't see the line. So, line of sight does really seem to be the absolute. That's it.
It is, and I appreciate the issues, and that's why actually what we're asking for is approval to do the next stage, which is some more in detailed investigation.
I would be delighted to work with you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions?
We have looked at this quite seriously in the last 2 years.
Any more
It's
questions?
a women's talk.
Yes, I'm sure.
Any other questions? No?
Well, thank you all
Okay.
very much for your time.
Thank you.
That's pleasant.
Okay, we move on to item 250, consideration of requests from interested parties. None received. We move on then to item 25101, the Mayor's report. I'll give you very quickly a Mayor's report of what I've been doing since the last full council. I had a meeting immediately after the last meeting with the committee for the Festival of Music and Drama, and discussed with them the cost to them of hire of the Queen Victoria Hall. They're a bit concerned about the fact that our costs seem to have gone up quite considerably, and it's something that they would like us to bring to the next estates meeting to look at the costs that they're incurring on room hire from us. I attended the Festival of Music and Drama. I attended quite a number of the events. over the course of the festival, and was asked to present quite a number of prizes and awards throughout those days, and was very, very pleased to do so on behalf of the Town Council. I attended, on the 21st, I attended the Joint Standards Complaints Committee. That's the Standards Committee for conduct of parish, town and district councillors. I'm a member of that panel. And I attended a meeting of our district councillors on the 22nd, and also on the same evening I attended a meeting with our Green Spaces group, who are looking at how we can put in a bid to preserve Fletton Field as a green space within the neighbourhood plan. On the 3rd of April I attended the local area town and parish councils meeting, a lot of which revolved around discussion about the libraries. And also on the same evening I had 2 other meetings, the neighbourhood plan full council meeting and a planning meeting. The following evening we had a meeting, councillors Chesser, Chappell and myself attended a museum trustees meeting, and had a very productive and quite a long meeting for a museum meeting, because we're looking at the new structure for the charitable trust there, and we've left them with some ideas, and we're having another meeting very shortly. 10th of April I had the Personnel and Finance and General Purposes Committee combined meeting along with members of those 2 committees. I met with our representative who's here tonight from Mohammed, who's here from the NatWest Community Bank. I met him at the library along with the Friends of Oundle Library. The next day I met with Professor Harris, who is the chair of the Lakeside Surgery, and took him through neighbourhood plan and discussed with him the effects neighbourhood plan would have upon the surgery, and heard his responses to how he thought they could cope with the proposed neighbourhood plan. He wants to keep in close liaison with the Town Council. He's got a lot of ideas of working with us and improving this area as a community hub of public services. I had a meeting on the 13th, Friday the 13th, ominously, with Councillor Stern and the clerk, and we were sorting out 1 or 2 queries with our strategic environmental assessment, which we think we've now got sorted for the time being. Yesterday I had 2 engagements. In the morning I was involved in a live Radio Northampton interview on Oundle. I don't know how many people heard that. And then in the evening we had in the Queen Victoria Hall a meeting with the neighbourhood plan, the public consultation meeting, the first event of our current public consultation under Regulation 14 of the neighbourhood plan. And that's really all I've done this month. District Councillor's report. Councillor Rycold apologises for not being able to get here. He's given councillors a copy of the meetings he's attended and the events that he's been to. I think we can take that as read, that if you've all got a copy, we can take that as read unless you have any questions on that. Okay, we'll move quickly on to item 252, signing and sealing. The resolution that any 2 councillors and the proper officer may seal any document required by law to be issued under seal on behalf of the council. That's our Standing Order 14B. Do I have a proposer, please? Councillor Glenn, and a seconder, Councillor Fuller. Those in favour, please. And that's everybody. We move on to 253, Town Matters. 25301 to receive the public consultation regarding the proposed new location of the post office and to consider a response from the council. You've got this item in your pack, so if I could just ask you for comments, please, before we put together a response. Councillor Hutton.
I did go into it. You've got to, you can't go and have a look at the consultation. You've got to log in effectively. And I know you don't log in yet. So it's very difficult really to get a feel for what it is they're asking without going all the way through it. I gave up after
Well,
about
we
half.
have been aware, we have been made aware of what their plans were.
Yeah.
Because there was a planning, the famous, was it the famous chimney that never existed?
Yes,
So,
it's never there.
so it has been something that's been on our radar for a while.
Yeah. I mean, my observation is that the survey, as much as it is, it's pretty superficial. Just,
Yeah, it's just asking, it's questions that you think, why not?
Is it near to where the
Yeah.
old post office was? Well, yes, it is. But I mean, I think the response really should be, can we understand what facilities are going to be provided? Is it going to be big enough for, half a dozen people to be stood in there waiting for service? Are there going to be 2 counters? Those sorts of questions. I don't understand, what that...
Two positions, I think.
It's been
Yes, they said there would be 2, yes.
And
It's
wheelchair
right
access
outside.
and everything else.
Yeah.
Did you see the information that I sent? That is a rough outline of what the difference is. The current post office and the
Yeah.
new proposed post office.
Any more questions on the post office?
What's this one?
No? Right then, can we consider a response from the council? Who would like to propose a response?
What are we proposing?
We've got to make a proposition.
A response,
Yes, really, when you get these consultations, obviously everybody individually can respond to them, but also you have your opportunity as a consultee to respond as a body. So if you look at it on this particular, that should be in your pack,
Yes.
it will give you the current post office location and what hours it's open, how many kiosks they've got and various things like that. And then it also gives you what the proposal will be. So that is in effect what you will be making your comments on. If you've got any comments, or if you haven't got any comments, you don't need to make
No, I'm
comments.
just pleased to see that the new opening hours
Yeah.
go through the lunchtime period. Because they don't at the moment.
And they're not closed.
And then Wednesdays as well.
I think
So, I mean, the premises used to be called Newmarket, of course, it's now called Handel Pharmacy. The premises are fine, as long as we don't get any reduction in service. And it also means that the traders can actually pay money in, because the biggest problem that you've got with the bank game is largely paying money in.
I guess money.
and cash exchange.
Just,
Councillor
quickly,
Humphries.
just for the record, I'm going to abstain from this because I still think the circumstances have changed since this whole thing, the post office thing blew up. And I feel that the best place for the post office is the library. It would make real good sense to have a post office in the library. The library's under threat. It would shore up that side of it. We've got the doctors, we've got the hub, we've got this building. It would make a complete community here in this country. But it's changed. I'm just going to put that out there on the record because I think it could be a better place for it than the post office, than the chemist's.
Yes, I've seen, yes. But we're not in public participation bit.
No, I understand.
I'm waiting for responses from councillors first.
That's fair. Trouble is, post office needs to make 50 grand a year, they have to have a turnover. So you can't do it in orders.
Do I have any more comments
Can I
from
just ask,
Councillor
it's just so
Chester?
much a comment as a question, you might have the answer, Emma. Have they got planning permission for the changes, or are these proposed changes to the building?
I don't know. I haven't seen whether there's any planning application. This is the consultation at the moment, so in effect, they shouldn't really be doing anything until the consultation is finished, but I'm sure that they are.
Just, I think broadly, we should be in support of the fact that the post office, we will still have a post office in the town. So that's the important thing. And of course we have two very popular people who run the post office. So I think we need to be supportive rather than anything else. And I think the fact that, I mean, we were delighted when we were very upset when it was being closed.
Yeah.
And then we had the sort of, as I was one of the first people to know about, the fact that it was remaining was a major celebration, actually, cause for celebration. So I think we need to be positive. I think we've got to say we are glad the post office is remaining open in Arundel. The fact it's moving to a pharmacy, in some respects, I do have a sympathy with Councillor Humphrey's view, but I think unfortunately post office only run when you're making profit. So it's not a community thing.
Can we word something along those lines?
Yeah, and I think also they have to now be within another shop.
They have to be in a business.
Yeah, they can't be a standalone. They have to be within another shop.
This is their new model, I think.
And I think they have to produce a certain amount of income, don't they?
It's 50, they've got to do 50, they've got to do a place of 50, which is why your idea is brilliant, but unfortunately, it doesn't agree with it.
Down in flames.
Councillors have had their say.
You're dead in the water.
Sorry.
If councillors have had their say, I will take a comment from Lee.
Well, I've spoken to Mick and Cam extensively about the situation, and as you point out, the only option for the post office is for it to be taken on by an existing retail business, and the only retail business in town that has been accepted as large enough to accommodate the post office is the pharmacy, and they got it on a thread. And this is the only option for the post office in Arundel. And if it doesn't go ahead, if there is not enough support, if for some reason Post Office Ltd backs out, that's it, it's gone, along with most of the other post offices in the region.
So you better be very positive.
Mick and Cam are really feeling that we moved to
I'll vote for it.
pharmacy.
Okay. Councillor Oakes, S.
Just for a bit of knowledge from the bank that I work for, I'm looking over at the room here. I can say that I know that the likes of Santander are putting a lot of money into the post office to keep it going. I can go into the post office and I can withdraw £2,000 in cash from my Santander account, for instance, that kind of thing. But they are putting a lot of support, I'm sure NatWest are doing so.
I think that strengthens the link, actually.
It does.
So
The banks are really...
they're starting to run the post office as the way you can get money out.
Councillor Oakes, N.
Basically, the whole financial world has turned around. Now that people can do transactions on their mobile phones. And therefore, when you look at the options where you've got somebody who has a mobile phone and they do the transactions, or owning a building, staffing it, heating it and lighting it, the economics of it are just a stark.
Yes.
Plus the fact that people like me will die before other people move in. And these people who move in are used to doing this. They're almost born, with a mobile phone in their hand. And so it's going to get even worse. So I can see that it's a logical, and I think we should be grateful for the post office, to be honest, for taking this on.
So I think we asked the clerk then to write a positive message of support from council.
Yes.
Sorry?
I was just going to say, make sure that includes reference to the increased opening hours, because I think we're all somewhat surprised that in these days, instead of the service being cut back, it's actually being expanded, and I think that's great.
Yep. So I don't think we need to take a vote on that, as long as we're all happy that we're going to send a positive response in favour of the post office moving to the pharmacy. If we move on then to 25302, to receive notification that house-to-house collections for Christian Aid Week will take place in Arundel between the 13th and 19th of May. Any comments? If not, we'll move swiftly on, having noted that. 25303, to receive the letter from the Secretary of State for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport sent to the acting leader of Northamptonshire County Council regarding the libraries and the response from First for Wellbeing. It's in your pack, open to comments.
Well, we just don't want to lose the library.
Well, he is challenging their closure of
Yeah.
libraries and the way that they're operating.
I think and I'd support his view.
So,
This is from this is the Matt Maddock one, isn't it? Matt Hancock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it calls us for to do any action.
doesn't call for us to do any action other than receive it. So if we're happy,
Yep.
we will receive it and move on.
Yep.
Shouldn't we write a letter of support to him?
I think we need to consider it a bit more deeply, quite frankly, before we do that. Why don't we let him get on with his work, see what he comes up with?
Okay. 25304 to receive an update on the litter pick arranged for 22nd of April from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Yes, this is on Sunday. We're going to start from meet at Fletton House. We've hired 20 sets of litter pickers and jackets and things, and the areas that we're potentially going to work in are Blackthorn Road, Ashton Road, car parks, and South Road. But Joanna and I are going to go and check them tomorrow, just to make sure that there isn't any safety or health and safety issues. And on the day we'll confirm, obviously depending on numbers and depending on who turns up. Looks like it's going to be quite a nice day, so if you've got a couple of hours spare, fancy a little walk with a bag and a litter picker, we'll be meeting here at 2 o'clock.
Okay, any comments? No? Yeah, Councillor Hutton.
Do you know how many volunteers you've got?
We've got lots of staff members, and we've had a couple of volunteers, but we're hoping for 20.
There's a local group, wasn't there?
Yeah, we've got the children that did the litter picking that came. Unfortunately, they're away, but I think their parents are going to come, and then they've got a few others.
Right. Okay. We've received that report. We'll move swiftly on. 25305 to consider the agenda for the annual town meeting on Thursday the 26th of April. You've got this in your pack. Do I have any comments, please?
Excuse me, isn't there? You haven't got a copy of it, because that's the one thing I didn't print off.
Between the two of us, because I can't find it.
Oh, right.
The only comments I would make, we've obviously approached the schools and they've not.
They've only just come back today saying that, and this is only one of the schools, that they will be in attendance, but they haven't said whether they want to say anything.
Right.
The only thing we could do is at the end where we've got questions, if anybody's got anything for the school and they're there, then they can ask them.
Is anybody attending from Highways?
Sarah Barber today has confirmed that she will attend.
She has now confirmed, right. So if we give her a slot on the agenda, I think.
Well, I'll ask her if she wants a slot.
I think following on from last night's neighbourhood plan meeting, there are people who want to ask questions about highways. So they were asking, would somebody be there? Would it be agended so that they can speak? The other people who wanted to speak at the meeting were the Green Spaces group. Have they been back to you? I believe they've got
no, they haven't.
some kind of presentation they'd like to give.
But
They haven't been back.
No.
Right. If you could check with Christina Court, because she would like to talk about Fletton Field.
Yeah, I'll contact her.
And I don't know whether the museum want to say anything. They did at one stage, about a month ago, they were talking about saying something. But
Yeah, they've been
obviously not.
invited and they've brought in their accounts, but they haven't offered to say anything.
Right. So we're presenting their accounts at the...
Yeah, we just have them at the side. We
Okay.
don't actually present them, they're just there for people to see.
Right. Okay. Any further questions then on the agenda for the annual town meeting?
It's just to point out that there's something that I've asked to be put in there. which is the Pathfinder 2, which is the emergency planning. And I think there might be a vehicle, and there was a vehicle really there.
I don't know, she just said that she'd just have a few minutes just to present something and then a neighbouring...
They've got their truck or whatever it is.
Yeah, she didn't mention a truck, but
Truck.
she did...
It's, they've got support, they've got, not in the Victoria Hall, that we parked. I don't know, but they have, it's all to do with the emergency plan. So, just to let you know.
Okay. If there's nothing else on the annual town meeting, we'll move on to 25306 to receive information on the Nene Valley Festival 2018 and to consider ideas for an event.
Yeah,
That's again in your pack.
I sent the information. There are grants that we can apply for if there is any sort of event that we want to put on during the festival. I think last year the museum did something, so I thought about contacting them just to see if they're going to do anything again. And if they want to, if they want any money for that, then we can put in a grant. But if anybody knows of anybody else or any ideas.
Can I ask a question? I've now seen it, I can't remember. When was the town granted the market concession?
The market charter was 972 AD.
Right.
I know that because I revised it for that Radio Northampton broadcast on yesterday.
Find that last
So, on that
94 years before William the Conqueror arrived.
on that point, can we not do some sort of medieval market?
You've got a medieval
A market where people dress up in flesh. Sorry? It wouldn't be Norman costume, I'm thinking Anglo-Saxon costume.
Anglo-Saxon it would have to be for 972.
The Black Death, the Black
Oh,
Death.
yeah, yeah.
I think it's good. Black Death Market.
Yep.
It was just a thought.
That's a good idea.
That might be
That's
something.
like a piece.
How about applying, getting in touch with Friends of Barnwell Park?
I know they do
always
it.
lay on.
Well,
It's a good place.
we're members of that languages. We're in
Yeah.
touch with him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we could have a jousting
Those would
competition.
be
Yeah, have you got a contact number?
well, Edward
Yeah.
is the secretary, isn't he?
I know Edward.
Could you send it and then I'll...
Well, I'm on Barnwell.
Oh, well, if you
things,
want, if you want to speak to
I can
them.
have a chat with
Yeah.
Edward about it.
Because that would be a useful thing for the Nene Valley Festival.
It would.
To title into
Yeah.
as they're on the river.
The other thing is that I am a sailor, so I know the water. But the thing is that I know quite a lot about an original, thing. But they want to develop the whole of the Nene Valley, all the way from Northampton, all the way up to Peterborough. And the general idea was to get it so that people could go from there to here on bicycles, for example. So, I'm interested. I'll have a chat with it. I'll have a chat with
There's
it.
funding opportunities up to £10,000.
Right, well, we'll have a go at that then.
You might have a Viking warship right up and down there.
Right. Any more ideas for an event or any other comments?
I like the medieval market.
Yeah, I do too.
That's one to consider,
Right,
definitely. If there's no other comments, I shall move us swiftly on to item 254, council matters, to receive the clerk's monthly report.
Yes, that's in the pack.
Got it in the pack. You've all seen it. Has anybody got any questions on the clerk's report? No? No comments, no questions? Okay. 25402, to receive an email from a resident regarding upgrading the Oundle skate park. This again is in your pack. Anybody has any comments?
I did read it briefly, and I think obviously, we have already agreed that we're going to upgrade it. So, I can't see any problem. Yeah, we do.
Well, I think we
It does need
agreed
doing.
that at the not last meeting, but the meeting before, I think when we discussed
Yes,
the
young people.
the young people and how they were going to hold an event, and it was agreed that if they put together a project,
That's right.
we would
yeah.
listen to it. So that is still going, that is still going ahead.
Actually, it's interesting. I was at, just if I can say, in Easter, I went to Munsley in North. I don't know if you've been to Munsley.
I know it very well.
But they had a fan. I mean, they're a similar size. It's like smaller, I think. But they've got this amazing play area, and I sent pictures to the mayor and Emma about this, because it's a concrete one. It's one of those ones that it's not like our one. It's actually
They've got pipes.
it's all concrete, so you don't have the same issue.
That's what they're into.
That's what I think is where we go. But they also had a fantastic pitch with they cost a lot more. There's an artificial pitch with the cage. It's a cage. You know the cage they have with lots of different lines for doing different things. And they also then have the old thing that we've got round the back of the library with a lot more of these sort of outside weight training rooms. And I just thought it was fantastic. And this is a council that's smaller than ours, I think. And they're putting that together. So I thought that was the sort of model that we should be looking for.
I apologise, I missed those last meetings, but whatever we do, I think we will check with our insurance people. It's like an old skateboarding is extreme sport and people get injured.
Yeah,
so the design has to reflect that, I think.
Well, we've had to skate park for ages. We have got that injury thing.
I know.
But if you look at the new ones, which are these concrete things, they're much safer.
I like it.
The problem with concrete is they aren't any safer, obviously, because you still hurt yourself. But you can't change them or move them. And if you decide to get rid of a skate park, it's tremendously expensive if it's concrete. I mean, we did all the research into that when we put the skate park in. It looks fine, but it's a really, really difficult thing to dispose of.
But I do think that's what the young people want now. It's all about the moulded concrete and with the
yes,
metal
and as I say, we did
what
the
we've
research.
got
We looked
is-
all around the country at these, and that was the problem that we were advised of. Be careful, because although it's what people like and the look of, it's very, very expensive if you want to change it in any way.
Councillor Oakes.
You're absolutely right, but if you remember, the youths dismantled it at one
Yes, they
point.
did.
Mm.
Yes, they did.
So we need to bulk it down.
Right. Any more comments? Councillor Peel.
I would agree with you, Councillor. I think that's a much better project. And also bringing those other things in, I feel would actually add to that area and make it even more successful, because there'd be even more people, children, adults, etc., using the area. I mean, for instance, the weightlifting that you said, that's actually sort of done by Wicksteed Park, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
they don't actually use weightlifts, they just use the metals to do it.
Yeah,
It's a lot easier.
Yeah, we've got that.
Yeah, Roger Leak did the stuff up
about 8
things.
things of the 3.
Yeah.
But one of the things we had an idea about actually was to run a sort of like an adult training centre around the outside of the wreck. You know, in other words, something where people could come along and swing from ropes and go along bars and stuff like that. And, you know, you've always got a health and safety issue with all of these things, haven't you? Kids fall over, damage themselves, and even worse. But life has got to be a little bit about, you know, taking a bit of risk.
My son lives in Leicester, and every park in Leicester has exactly that around the perimeter of it. There are these machines, and they are not only well used by the younger people,
They're used by the older people.
but they're used. They are on Sundays. They have elderly people use them, and with trained people there to help them. You know, so you actually have disabled sessions. You have, and it's a bit like Tai Chi, or not Tai Chi, what is it they do in China?
Yeah, it's like those-
Where you have all the old people out doing exercising. Because it's incredibly important. And if it was on the wreck near, I mean, it would be even better if it was round back here.
I think it's hidden there. I don't think many people know about it.
No?
And I would like to see, if it's possible, I don't know how easy and how it came about, I'd like to see those moved to an escape area.
I mean, should we just say feasibility study, get them to do the local economies,
yeah.
get them and come back with concrete proposals and see take it from there.
That's what we said earlier, we said they put on the
Councillor Hutton.
I was just going to ask whether the person who sent that letter in has been made aware of the issue you discussed
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago. So they've got the
Yeah.
contacts. So yeah, we ought to just encourage them to get engaged with that group. Then
I haven't given him the details of the group, but I've told him that we are going to, hopefully in conjunction with East Northants Council and the schools and other organisations, try and put an event on here for youth.
And I would just like to say how pleased I am to hear that Leslie's so far-sighted.
I mean, it's, the whole thing is, I think it's really, really important because it's, to me, the whole point of being on a council is about community. It's all about community. If you can get the young interacting with the old in some sort of neutrality, then it makes starts to make community. And that's what this is all about.
Can I say I agree? You've got an area up there for younger people, then you've got your skateboarding path for people who are teenagers maybe, but there's nothing up there really for people who might be older at all. Now the only other thing I'd say is that we probably get an awful lot of support from the local gym and fitness. I think they run courses up there.
The more imagination we put into projects like this, the more we put it out there, from my perspective anyway, is the better the reaction will be. The more ideas, no matter how wild and wacky they seem to be, are thrown in at the beginning, the better the end result will become.
And engage the youth of the town to design it for all ages.
Shouldn't we pass this to our Estates Committee and ask them to put a feasibility study together with the teenagers we've already
Even
asked?
if we put it as a competition to the youth of the town.
They could take it further forward.
Yeah, that the group, the meetings that we've been going to,
yeah.
that's what they're going to try and do. So they're going to try and get them to come
I think,
along.
well, I know that, but what I'm saying is we can now take it further
Yeah.
forward with maybe some more ideas rather than just the skate park.
Yeah. The youth councillors are on the ball. They're on the job on that one, as you know from that meeting, the group that we attend.
Yes, yeah.
So they're on the ball with that. They just need to know that at the end of it they're likely to get some funding, and then I think they'll be happy to do it. If we move on then, having received that report, on to item 25501, to receive an update on the neighbourhood plan. We're now into Regulation 14. We had our first event last night. Whether there's any comments from those councillors who were present as to how you felt that went?
I haven't typed all the comments at the
I'm not surprised.
I'll just say that it was a bit scary to start with, because up to about 3 minutes before the kick-off, there weren't very many people there.
No, they all arrived literally at the last
And
minute.
then 5 minutes later, we're trying to rush more chairs out, and it was a full house. It was very rewarding indeed.
Councillor Humphreys.
Just a question about, how many comments did you get?
I haven't counted them all up, but I got quite a lot of pages worth.
So
With regards to questions, there were probably, I don't know, about 15, but they were quite lengthy and revisiting, going back, and comments.
I mean, it was a great meeting. It was great to see that many people come out. My only comment on it, and my regret from it, was that the town seemed to have lost track about what the meeting was about, and it was they turned it into you know, tending to turn into a whinge session rather than a let's get together once again as a community and give this the local plan teeth and make it work, make the developers work for their money, not just sit back and cream off from the top of everything. And
Yes,
leave us
50
alone.
production houses.
Yeah, I think I would agree totally with you. That was the problem, wasn't it?
But there's weeks to go yet, hasn't there?
So they've got that off their chest. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we've got to work on them. We've certainly got a bit of work to do.
I think from my observation there, if we went to a vote today, we'd have the plan rejected.
Mm.
And I think, that we've got to find a way of getting that mob on board. And I think a lot of it for me is mitigating issues now. If we put a development on that site there, what are the concerns that came out of that meeting yesterday? Follow it, and what will we do about them? So that needs to be in the document.
It does, yes.
And I think the other thing that is, from a personal point of view, that is missing from the document is at what size does Angle break? We talked a lot about Angle's history and how we got here, what our road structure is, and the question did come up last night, and Jerry said, when is it too much for Angle to keep its character? Because yes, we can build new houses, we can make Milton Keynes here if we wanted to, but Angle will disappear in it. And somewhere in the document, we need to declare, because the community, what we believe the limit is that you can have. And I can't anywhere on the internet find any rules that help us, put that together.
I know some villages, I know Glapthorne tried it once or twice, talking about any new development being in keeping with the character of the village and in keeping with what's already there. The trouble is, if you have a look at the village, it's every house is different, very, very different. There was a lot of objection to one up not far from the village hall that got called the town hall because it's got huge great pillars outside, and there was a lot of objection to that one when it first went in. They quite like it now, but at the time there was a lot of objection. It's not in keeping with the character, but it was very difficult to think what the character was.
Well, I know it was an objection of the estate that I now live on, St Christopher's Drive. When that was put in, it was the recording on the council meeting said it was not in keeping with the town. We move on, don't we? Anyway, just the point about the straightforward total volume of Angle, what could it be allowed to get to without any, destroying the town?
It's a very good point. Any more comments?
Probably would be the destruction of the town.
Sadly,
One problem is the infrastructure changes and the way we do business changes, the way we travel changes, everything changes. So as the pressures increase, we find ways around to sorting out problems.
Councillor Oakes.
Really, the gem of Angle really is the conservation area, isn't it?
Yes.
And when you move away from that, you've got modern housing estates. And you can easily just bolt other houses onto them, make them bigger.
Yeah, but the problem with our road structure is everything goes into the town centre.
It does. No, I'm with you all the way on this. All I'm trying to point out is that developers, this place is like a blooming magnet.
Well, they can sell it at high prices here, but if they destroy the town, there won't be.
I will take a question from Lee.
Well, I just wanted, because I spoke at the meeting last night too, and I felt a little bad afterwards because I thought, I'm going to sound like such a NIMBY because I was talking about preserving the character of Angle. And really what I meant by that was that, as you say, how far can you stretch the boundary of Angle before the character of this rural market town changes? And when I commented about how the planners think they can dump certain allocation on our doorstep compared to the allocation that they're giving to those south of that A14. I didn't mean to be snobby about Rushden and Earthlyborough, etc., but they do have dual carriageways. They have roundabouts galore. They have access to wider road systems than Angle has. So developments that stretch the boundaries of those communities actually fit within the character of that community because the infrastructure supports it. But throwing houses onto the outskirts of Angle at 120 on the edge of the park at the end of Denfield Road is crazy. all the roads within Arundel are essentially single-lane roads because of on-street parking. And none of the infrastructure in this town can support continued edge-of-town developments. And that's, you know, why I feel like, you know, if we continue to push the boundary, Arundel will be changed forever.
But we are freezing it till 20 minutes.
Just one point, I mean, yeah, I absolutely agree with everything everyone said, and it's great that everyone's talking. I'm more concerned about the 1,500 houses that are going to appear in the Tresham state, because the magnet for them will be Arundel, not Corby, and that's going to be.
We've been told it won't.
That's going to be a big lot. Yes, of course, but that's going to is our biggest problem.
It might be for you, but unfortunately not for the retailers.
This is true.
Well, it will be, because none of them will be able to park it.
We discussed that issue at planning, and I did point out that might have a massive impact upon us. It's pretty obvious that if you stick 1,500 houses down there, and they've got a lovely magnet down the road where they can come and whatever else. But of course we do have a bit of a problem because we are losing businesses in the town centre, and that will continue, I believe, to increase. I don't know who's going to occupy the post office. That is as is. It's things like that.
Post office and the NatWest Bank.
Yeah.
Now both standing
You've got
empty.
NatWest Bank, you've got the NNP building, you've got the post office.
Which is leased, I believe, so it's a private owner. It's someone in from Portsmouth, I believe.
The bank?
Yeah,
Yes,
NatWest.
Yeah.
Was it you that
Yes,
told me?
yes. Privately owned.
The point I'm trying to make, though, is that they're not going to be shops.
No.
Apparently Paul Watts is going. The hairdressers.
Are they?
Apparently.
This was his flagship
Well, he's going
salon.
to close, apparently he's closing his Oakham and his Angle salon.
He's, sorry?
Closing Oakham and Angle.
Oakham and Oundle.
And the job
It's only hearsay,
is the same.
what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
That's a
interesting.
shame, because that's another, again, quite a nice
Yeah.
unit, isn't it?
Very interesting, yeah.
Hopefully one of the other Chinese will be there.
Just to round off then the neighbourhood plan update, I've added one more event to it. The 27th of April, I'm meeting with the senior citizens from Abbott House, Stronglands and the Maltings, inviting them into this room to tell them about the neighbourhood plan, where I'm bribing them with cups of tea and lemon drizzle cake from the Hub, the famous lemon drizzle cake, small bite-sized pieces of that. I'm hoping they don't all fall asleep on me if I feed them and water them, but I'm bribing them with tea and cake to come along and hear what it's all about. I feel that they have as much right to know about the plan and have an event tailored to their needs as everybody else. So I'm including them in the neighbourhood plan. Unless there's anything else on the neighbourhood plan, I'll move swiftly forward. Item 256, financial matters. 25601, to approve the bank reconciliation, balance sheet, budget report and hub trading account for March 2018. I'll turn this over to Councillor Glenn.
We've already been through this in the Finance Committee, and everybody thought it was in order at that meeting, so my proposal is just to approve. That's my proposal.
You've got them in your pack if there's any questions. I've got a proposer, Councillor Glenn, seconder, Councillor Fuller. Those in favour? And that's everybody. Thank you. Moving on to 25602, payments for March. You've got those again in your pack.
Can I just ask what SO toilets are?
St Osoph's
St. Osyth's
Lane.
Oh, right.
We guessed it was. So,
Sounds like the old paraffin way.
Oh, I'm glad we cleared that up. I was really worried about it.
So yes, you've got your schedule of payments. Do I have a proposer? If everybody's happy, if there's no queries on any of those payments.
May I ask what the M insurance fee is? WPS.
That's our insurance company.
That's our broker, WPS from Plymouth. They're the insurance brokers. They handle our insurance matters for us.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
No. Do I have a proposer
Yeah.
that the schedule of payments for March is Councillor Oakes, seconded Councillor Fuller. All those in favour, please. And that is everybody. Okay. 25603 to approve the subscription and internal audit cost for Northants Calc membership. That again is
Propose it.
They are, just to say, they are also going to be our data protection officer.
Oh, right.
That's even more important.
Right, I'm
And we're going
proposing
to
it.
offer that service free of charge this year.
I'm proposing it.
I'm seconding it.
I'm in favour of that, yeah.
And those in favour.
Sorry, who's proposed the second? Is that?
Proposer was Councillor Oakes N, seconder was Councillor Fuller. And those in favour.
It's a no-brainer.
Okay.
So you have to make it all the favour.
25604 to approve Oundle Town Council financial risk assessment. Again, it's in your pack.
We went through this at the, not the finance meeting, just gone, the one before. Let me just have a look. The changes that were included were, on the charge of the markets, we've got a properties chair, so that's changed to estates. And it was for the precept to be approved at the January meeting. And with regards to expenditure on salaries, the RFO and FO will check salary spreadsheet before sending to the payroll provider.
So finance have gone through that in some detail. It's there in your pack if there are any questions. No. Do I have a proposal that we approve this risk assessment? Councillor Chappell is proposing, seconder Councillor Chesser. All those in favour, please. Smashing. That's unanimous. 25605 to approve the Oundle Town Council internal control policy.
Again, with changes that were made at the finance meeting. The external auditors are now no longer BDO. We now have PKF Littlejohn as our external auditor. And on the second page, under town councillors, it was agreed that the last sentence, we would have the Good Council's Guide to be familiar and endeavour to comply with appropriate legislation and remove the list of things like model code of conduct, that sort of thing.
Excuse me, were we supposed to be provided with a copy of this Good Councillor's Guide? I haven't seen it.
You would have had one when you first became a councillor. I can send you it again.
Yes, please. I have read a lot of it online,
Are we sending out the staff handbook with the starter pack as well?
I'm not sure of the staff handbook. I think it may be. But I have a whole folder that we give out to everybody. It's got a list of everything in it.
Okay. I could do with an updated copy of
Okay,
our staff handbook, please.
If you just want to email me, because I should probably forget
Okay.
by tomorrow. And same with you, Councillor Glenn. If you want to email me, I'll send it out.
Smashing. So internal control policy is there. Looks like it's waiting for my signature on the first page. If you're all happy with it, Councillor Chappell is proposing, Councillor Fuller is seconding. Those in favour? Again, it's unanimous. We move swiftly on 25606 to discuss the internal audit and approve the scope of the internal audit.
Yeah, I did circulate a checklist. Unfortunately, I didn't receive the scope only until yesterday, and I didn't think it's enough time for us to completely design a new scope. However, I was contacted by our new internal auditor, who had some concerns because she'd been contacted by the mayor. and who had said that he wanted to attend the meeting, and also that he wanted to meet with her beforehand. She was concerned about that because obviously it's supposed to be an independent audit, and she felt that it wouldn't be if she spoke to yourself beforehand. And also, it's up to the council to decide who meets with the auditor. So if you want anybody to meet with them, other than myself, it's up to you to decide as a council.
Well, I'm very happy for the mayor to meet the auditor. I don't see any problem with that.
I'm hoping that Councillor Glenn, as head of finance at the moment, will also meet the auditor.
I'm against that. I feel this is an independent audit, and I don't feel that any councillor should be involved at this time.
Why?
Well, simply because this is supposed to be independent, and any comments
But
you make
I think
to
that
the internal
there
audit...
are issues there
Yeah,
which need to be addressed,
I want to
and we want to make sure the internal auditor
bear with me,
understands those issues.
I haven't finished, Mark. I think you should allow me to speak. We've already agreed that at the financial meeting last week, that we were going to get a health check done by somebody else.
Yes.
That should bring up any problems we might have. We've already discussed that, and we already know that if any other problems come up, it should be in that. I feel this being an internal independent audit should not be influenced by any comments that councillors make towards it up front, and I would therefore strongly disagree that any member of the council should be involved, apart from the clerk.
The
Clerk and the financial
officer.
officer, are you going to say that they don't have an extra grant every direction?
I would actually say that that comment could be put to the independent auditor by the clerk. I don't honestly believe that councillors should be involved at this point with this audit.
I don't think
and I think it's wrong that we should actually try and put pressure on auditors to come up with certain answers when they have to check it independently first.
Who said we're putting any pressure on?
I'm not saying anybody's putting any pressure on, but
just
you
did.
have a bias, and so does Malcolm, towards the audit, and I believe that that should not be allowed.
Excuse me, I do not have a bias towards the audit.
Total
I want to make
independence.
sure that the audit is comprehensive. I do not have a bias. All I will do
In that case,
is
then,
I'll
I would
say,
strongly suggest,
please would you
Malcolm,
look at these areas.
In
And
that
then I'll
case,
walk away, let me get on with
Malcolm,
it.
I would strongly suggest that rather than you and the Mayor sit down with the auditor, those comments should be put in a letter read by the auditor on her own, and not with any councillor in the room at the time. I'm sorry, that's the way I feel.
What I'm trying to say is, if anybody has any comments that they want to make to the internal auditor, you can do, but you must agree it in full council first. This whole council must agree that that is what you're looking at. You cannot do it on your own individually.
I think I see Councillor Chappell waving his arm around.
Yep, I'm saying...
Well, grateful to you for pointing it out. If I understood you correctly, however, the internal auditor has a concern about meeting any particular councillor.
Before.
And I think we've got to be conscious of that. I think we might ask for clarification as to why. Maybe we should ask Danny Moody, for example, what happens in other councils. But I have a concern that if an internal auditor says, I don't think this should happen, we kind of insist it should. We're not getting off on exactly the right start with our internal auditor.
No.
And I don't see any sort of immediate pressure to do it. So could we perhaps just check it through, Danny? Could we ask the lady for clarification as to what her issues with that are, and then bring it back and let's discuss it again?
I have emailed Danny Moody after I spoke with the auditor, and he has not replied to that email. So if he had any strong views, any strong concerns about it, I think he would have emailed.
He has spoken to me though about it.
Well, he hasn't come back to me.
But what I would like to say is you can ask for certain things to be looked at. If you feel that we may get a bit more information, we may get advice on how to do things properly, but what I must stress, it must come from the full council. So it's an approved scope from the full council that you all agree with. It cannot be individual councillors contacting our internal auditor, expecting to speak with her beforehand to tell her what she should be looking at.
Councillor Chesser.
I was really, why I mentioned you, Councillor Chappell, was that custom and practice. I mean, you must have been to endless number of these meetings.
I can recall having sort of been head of finance on a number of occasions over the years. The amount of times that I was involved in direct meetings with the internal auditor, you could have counted on less than the fingers of one hand. It really was an uncommon event, rather than being a matter of routine, in my experience. I'm conscious of the advice that we're getting from our clerk. If there is going to be a question of scoping this out, quite frankly, at 5 to 9 tonight, with a lot more on the agenda, I'm not sure we can do that.
No.
Can we not refer back to the Finance and General Purposes Committee the issue of scope of internal audits? Let them come forward to full council with a recommendation, by which time the clerk will have hopefully got answers to the questions I posed earlier, and we can have a proper debate about this.
Yeah, I can get answers. At the moment, though, the audit is potentially scheduled for the 5th of May or 4th of May, one of those 2 days. And so we may not have enough time for that. That's why I'm saying if now...
Put the audit back.
Sorry?
You may have to put the audit
well,
back.
we can't necessarily put it back because we have to fit with our meetings, and we have to get our annual return completed in July. If you've got any issues, what I'm suggesting you do now is you raise them now, you agree them now, I will then take them to the internal auditor.
I think that's too fast, quite frankly. You know, I want time to consider it. I don't want to do it now.
But we have little choice. We do have to have the internal audit carried out in May.
Can we take it on to another meeting?
Not the internal audit, no.
Councillor Peake.
Can I ask, do we have a meeting next week, don't we?
No.
No.
Do we not? Can we, and I know most councillors don't want this, can we have a meeting next week, having had questions put down in writing by the Mayor and Councillor Glenn, so that we can discuss them and then put them forward?
I'm quite happy to give you a list of concerns.
But you can't do it tonight.
No.
Because you've already said that. So if we allow that 7-day period, Malcolm, that would give us all time to see what those questions are and have a discussion next week. I know,
the only thing I would say,
it's an extra meeting, but I do believe that if we're going to do this, then we have to, as Emma says, have it cleared by the full council.
The other possibility is that we have a full council meeting on the 1st of May, which will still be prior to this meeting. So you could have it on the agenda for the 1st of May rather than creating an extra meeting.
Yes.
And it could still go to the internal auditor in time.
Yeah, we can do that.
I just want to say one thing actually. As head of finance, and all councillors, we are responsible for the finances of this organisation and for making sure that they are run properly. Now,
I see no problem with that, Malcolm.
Well, if you can't talk to the auditor, how can you assure
No,
yourselves that things are being run properly?
What I said was that, you know, it's an independent audit. I don't believe that anybody should be talking to them until we've either, as Emma said, got the whole council to approve the questions and give the questions to the auditor in letter form. I don't believe that councillors should be involved with the auditor. I think,
we could all go,
you know,
I don't mind.
Councillor Oakes.
Do we know what the internal auditor thinks about the process that will be taking place?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, and I mean I've sat in on many internal audits, it's normally the responsible financial officer, finance people that are involved in it, they sit down with the internal audit. But normally, the council has approved a scope, that scope is followed. I've sent out the checklist, which are the lists of the things that they look at. And that is what has happened. I mean, if this council puts together a scope, you can guarantee that I will go through with it. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, well, we're not going to look at that, because she will respond
We'll
to
take
that
David,
scope.
we'll take David's suggestion on it, 1st of May.
Yeah. I did attend the audit last year, and there were no major issues with it. I attended because I wanted to see what went on, see what was looked at and what wasn't looked at. And I don't see what the problem is with a councillor being present to do exactly the same thing again this time.
My thoughts were, if a councillor was to be present, then Councillor Glenn be present as head of finance.
Yeah.
And it would also be his first internal audit that he has seen. So if you wanted a councillor...
Well, let's leave it to the 1st of May, I think.
We can, yes.
As long as the scopes of the audits is fine and
Yeah.
agreed, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, but I do think you'll carry out to let us so.
Okay, so we can't approve the scope of the internal audit. We've got to do that at a later date. We've discussed the internal audit. Do we need a proposition that... any propositions? I don't think we do.
I think so, because it's going on to the next meeting.
Carry it forward to the next meeting. 25607, to receive the minutes from the Finance and General Purposes and Personnel Committee meeting held on the 10th of April. Those again are in the pack. For anybody who got any questions on the minutes of that meeting?
Yeah, I'd like to bring up, hang on a second, we've got the right one. No, it's not. Ah, the HR consultant, 176302.
Yep.
And this is not to anything, well, this is something to do with the minutes, but are we going to be talking about the email we had from Chris Moses today in review to the 176203, or are we doing that under closed session?
The email that was circulated, that was brought up in the finance meeting, as it was decided that you wanted to speak to our HR consultant to find out what his issues were and what the breaches in the terms and conditions were. That has now been set up for the 8th of May at our personnel meeting. He will be attending. And so he asked that the email be circulated to the council. I mean, I don't think we necessarily should be speaking about it now with regards to these minutes, but it may cross over into some of the things that are in closed session.
Okay, that's fine. In that case, I would propose the minutes of the 10th of...
I think we're just receiving them at the moment.
Sorry, we're receiving them, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further comments on those minutes, we move on to 25608 to approve expenditure of £1,000 for employment law advice. We need to go back to our employment law solicitor for a response to the last letters that we've received. I'm conscious of the fact that she gave us advice after the first consultation, and we've more than used up the money that we paid her for that we need to make a provision for talking to her again on, or get her advice on dealing with these next letters.
Sorry, I have spoken to Chris Moses about, because at the last meeting it was agreed that there was going to be a formal grievance and an appeal, and I have spoken to him about it because he's the person that we speak to at the moment.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily see any need for any further expenditure.
I've had an email back from Chris Moses only today where he is saying he doesn't want to give an opinion on those.
But he hasn't said that to me.
Well, he has said it to me.
Well, can we have a copy of that email?
Yes, you can have a copy of that email, yes. Yeah.
I would still like to
Yeah.
speak to Chris Moses before we go on to spend any further money.
Can we set it aside as a contingency?
I would say that at this moment in time, we shouldn't approve it at all. Sorry. My
I said we
apologies.
should set it aside as a contingency because we might need it before the next meeting.
I would look at it this way, that at the moment we don't need it, so I wouldn't approve the expenditure.
We're not
Or
approving
even
the
a contingency to approve the expenditure.
Councillor Chappell.
I think I'd agree with Councillor Peel, because my understanding of the situation is we're still very much in what I might call early stage of the process, and I can't see why one would need to go to an employment law lawyer at this stage of the process when you're talking about having a grievance hearing, which I don't want to say it's an everyday issue, because one would rather hope that they were very infrequent, but nevertheless, I mean, it's just part and parcel of what happens in an employment situation. Okay, there's an appeal against a decision in a grievance, but that's a process that would have to be completed before any question of either side doing anything further happens. So, in a sense, I don't see the need for the rush at this stage.
I've just got a slight worry about the fact that we kept the person waiting for our previous reply.
I have spoken to him
And
about it.
I didn't want, you know, it's...
He understands that there are issues.
Okay.
Well, it's a council decision,
Okay, see how it goes on.
really it's up to someone to make a proposition as to what they think.
To wait.
To wait.
I propose to wait.
You propose that we wait.
Yep.
Okay. Do I have a seconder to that? Councillor Oakes S. And those in favour of that proposition? And those against?
I'm abstaining.
And those abstaining? Right. Okay, I will send you that email through. We'll move on then to 25609, to approve the recertification of the Oundle Town Council Staff Pension Scheme. Again, it's in your pack.
This is our, it's almost like a sort of formality. Every 18 months you just have to recertificate the pension scheme that we use. So this has come through and we just have to sign.
Can I propose that we recertificate whatever we need to recertificate?
We've got a proposer, got a seconder, Councillor Fuller. Those in favour?
Let's not delay.
Right, okay. Moving on to item 25701, planning matters, to receive the minutes of the planning committee meeting. It's in your pack unless you have any comments, or if Councillor Chappell as head of planning.
I have no
any comment
to make. If anybody has any questions, I'll let the deal. Otherwise, let's move on.
Estate matters 25801, to receive an update on the progress for the extension to Fletton House.
Yes, at the last estates meeting, the building regs were just being completed and were going to be submitted. They've now come back, and there are some questions that the architect's got to look at and answer. He's going through those at the moment. There was a deadline for mid-April to get his comments in, so I'm assuming that they're probably in by now. So I expect to hear from him any day. Once that's all gone through, we can then start looking at getting a proper quote and getting builders to look at it.
Just a question, quick question, Emma. This is the extension to the change
kitchen and the changing room.
kitchen. Now, I don't know if I'm reading if we're extending the kitchen and the hub, there is already, I get the feeling that there's sort of background problems with the financing of the hub and how much money it's making or not making. If we put an extension to the kitchen and then close the hub, what happens to it all? Because we either commit to the hub and have an extended kitchen and make it work by increased advertising or reducing wastage or whatever we talked about before, but there has to be a commitment to it, because it would be absolutely pointless spending the money, extending the kitchen and everything else, the works that go with it, only to shut it down again. And it would make us look even more idiotic than we already look.
I think probably this should wait until after October.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it may be that there may still be an extension, but it will be modified for the changing room, for the dance studio. So I think at the moment we're getting, we can get prices and things, but I don't think anything will be decided until after.
Well, thank you for that, because I think it means it needs more discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, we're only receiving an update at this stage anyway, we're not making a decision. 25802 to receive an update on the progress for the new workshop.
Yes, I don't know whether it was the last full council meeting. We appointed an architect, and I met with the architect. He's got the details, and he's currently gone away and is drawing up the plans. I have chased him up this week, but I haven't heard back from him yet.
Got any feeling for when he's going to get them back, or do we give him a deadline?
No, at the time when I spoke with him, I was expecting something last week, so I've contacted him again this week, and I will chase that up.
Might be nice to say we've received them by the town meeting, if he can do it.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah.
Okay, so that's the update, the progress report on the new workshop. 25803 to receive an update on the progress for the replacement boardwalk.
Yes, this has been put back a little bit, because obviously we've had a huge amount of rain and we haven't really been able to get down there. But I've spoken to the Environment Agency, and there are a couple of permits that we're probably going to need to get to do any work. We also will need to get planning permission, and so I've spoken to East Northants Planning Department about this. John and I went down to Stanwick Lakes and had a look at some recycled plastic boardwalk, which looked absolutely fabulous. Really does look good. Been to the company that makes that, and we've got a price per length. But I did meet with Johnny from CIMAC, and we were going to we've measured it out, but we're going to sort of look and see what we can do. But I think if we are going to be using it for people in wheelchairs and that sort of thing, we're probably going to need to have a bit more security at the sides, and certainly fencing at the end. But at the moment, we've just had to delay that a bit, because we haven't really been able to get down there.
What permits have you got to get?
Sorry?
What permits have we got to get?
It's works to flood area permits, and you have to decide whether you are exempt or not. And I've spoken to East Northants Planning; they don't think we will be exempt. So we will have to look to get those permits, and also we will need to get planning permission as well.
Okay. So we move on to the next item, 25901, to receive the NCALC update for March and April 2018.
Yeah, this is the hard copy version that I've received, so if anybody wants it, I've got it here if they want to take it away and have a look. But I think I've already circulated the other one.
Yeah.
Okay, so unless there's any comments on that, we'll move swiftly on. Please note that in view of the special and/or confidential nature of the business about to be transacted, it is advisable in the public interest that the public be temporarily excluded and they are instructed to withdraw. That's our Standing Order 3C. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Chappell. Seconder, Councillor Fuller. Those in favour? Those against? One against. Council matters.
The meeting.
Yeah.
So the meeting is now reopened following a period of discussion with regard to the first of, as it were, the penultimate items on the agenda. So that Councillor Sparks is aware, during the period that you've been out of the room, there has been a wide-ranging discussion. A part of that discussion has ultimately been with regard to the internal audit process, and there will be a proposition in a moment that your concerns with regard to the Sainsbury's account and the name in which that account was opened and operated will be referred specifically to the internal auditor, who will be coming in at the beginning of next month, and the internal auditor can then advise us on what she discovers and her broad comments in relation to the whole issue of that account, accounts generally opened in the name of councillors, etc. So that is something that has been part of the discussion that's taken place during the course of the last few minutes. At this point, and I can't remember, frankly, after that much discussion, who first came up with that idea. Actually, I think it was actually the clerk, so the clerk can't move it, but it was the clerk's advice. So is there somebody who wishes to make a formal proposition to that effect? Councillor Fuller. Is that proposition seconded by anybody? Councillor Humphreys. All those in favour, please indicate. That appears to be unanimous, except for Councillor Sparks, who quite properly has abstained. Now, Sparks, that's the easy bit. The more difficult bit is this, that the Council is extremely perturbed by comments that were made by you during the course of the Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting that took place last week. As a result of that, I'm going to invite Councillor Peel to put forward a proposition, and then I will see if there is a seconder for it. Councillor Peel.
The proposition, Councillor Sparks, is that we ask you to step down as Mayor from tonight. If that's not forthcoming, then we will ask for a vote of confidence in the Council towards your being Mayor. And that's the proposal.
Is there a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Fuller. All those who are in favour of that proposition, will they please indicate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those against? 2. And Councillor Robinson, I think, is abstaining on the basis that... So, that is the proposition. I appreciate that that has rather been sprung on you, but I have to ask you for a decision, because there is a second part to that proposition.
Well, I'm not going to step down. I will seek advice.
In that case, do I have a further proposition?
We have a further proposition that we, the Council, and I can't remember the exact wording, so Emma, could I just ask for
it proposed that there would be a vote of no confidence.
Yeah, sorry, that we propose a vote of no confidence in our Mayor from tonight.
Is that seconded? Councillor Fuller. All those in favour of that proposition? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 again. Those against? to... Well, that is the situation. It gives me no pleasure to be in that position. It is now a matter for you what you do. For the moment the meeting continues, there is a remaining item which will require us to go back into private session because it's a personnel issue. So I'm going to hand over the chair to you again as Mayor.
There is just one other proposition about the apology to Simon Prince.
You're quite right, thank you for reminding me. There was a further discussion, and I believe that there is a proposition in relation to comments that were made during the course of the open session of the Finance and General Purposes Committee last Tuesday. Can I have that proposal, please?
Who's it from?
Do you want me to read it out?
If you would like to be reminded.
It was proposed that the council sends an apology to the person involved, but beforehand we contact our insurance company just to seek some legal advice.
So that was the proposition, which I think was that of Councillor Hutton. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Fuller? All those in favour of that proposition, which in the circumstances is essentially unanimous. Right. Whilst I remain in the chair just for this precise moment, I will simply say this, that please note that in view of the special and/or confidential nature of the business about to be transacted, it is advisable in the public interest that the public be temporarily excluded and they are instructed to withdraw on Standing Order 3C. I'll propose it. Does somebody wish to second that, please? Councillor Peel. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So, if the...
And we're back on the recorder. Clerk, could I have the first proposition?
The proposal is that, following advice from our HR consultant, a new panel member will be included in the panel to hear the formal grievance to replace
an
outgoing member.
I'll propose that.
Proposed Councillor Chappell. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Oakes N. Those in favour?
I'll abstain. Peace about me.
Okay, and the next proposal, please.
I think that's it. There isn't another one.
Right, okay, that wasn't a proposition then.
No, it wasn't. That's why I asked.
It was just...
Right.
While the microphone's off.
Right. Okay, item 261, any other relevant matters for report only? I'll go round the table. Councillor Fuller. Councillor Oakes N. Councillor Oakes S. Councillor Peel.
No.
Councillor Chappell.
No.
Councillor Glenn. Councillor Chesser. Councillor Humphreys. Councillor Hutton. Councillor Robinson. And I've not got any other points to add. So with that, I'll close the meeting at
Somebody stay inside to check.
10:46.
Sorry, can somebody stay inside to check? I only need two. I'll do